ABC's looking nice. Room service, if I like, I order twice. Hibachi, got the gravy on the rice. Rolling in Mexico.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back into another edition of the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. My name is Jeremy Betts, and I'm flying solo today. That's okay. We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk some Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like to see how the general public of Steelers fandom stack up the AFC North. That's kind of my question of the day, and we'll dive into that as well as your questions. If you're listening in live, I already see some of the regulars. Afton, Kathy, thank you for tuning in. I'm sure we'll get more. I appreciate all of the listeners of this show and everybody here. Eric, welcome in, Eric Parker, and all the listeners to all of our shows here at the Steel Curtain Network. We appreciate each and every one of you. Daniel Red, I like that. Jerome, I'll take it. I think I'm known by multiple different names here on this site. Hey, Kat, what's going on? The regular appearance from my cat. This is Holly, by the way. Formal introduction should probably be made at this point because she makes a regular appearance. Specifically, her butt makes a regular appearance on this show. So that's Holly. She's our Christmas kitty. We got her a couple years ago for our little girl, and she's great. So maybe my only other Steelers fan in the house, because for some reason my daughter thinks it's hilarious to say "Go Browns, stinky Steelers" to me all the time, and who knows? Maybe I'll get her around that corner this year. She'll be 4 for this season of football, so maybe some Steelers ball kick into high gear her fandom. But at any rate, that's enough about my family. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. You can chat on Facebook, on YouTube, I think Twitter now as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at thebets93. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Make sure you follow Steel Curtain Network, Steel Scene Network on Twitter, and then also FFSN, the Fans First Sport, or I think it's at Fans First SN on Twitter. So follow each of those. Stay up to date with all of our content. We are going to be busy here in the next couple weeks as training camp is only, I think, 10 days away from today, coming along so quickly. And I am ready for it. I'm sure all of you are too. Let's just dive into it. How do Steelers fans stack up the AFC North? I'm intrigued by your thoughts here because I have my own thoughts. And I see another question from Daniel. Daniel, we'll get your question in a minute, man. It's a good one. So we'll get to that here in just a second. So, but while we get to that, go ahead and let me know, how do you as a Steelers fan stack up this AFC North and why? I think the general consensus across the league, if you will, is that it's the Ravens, it's the Bengals for sure. Those two teams are the cream of the crop in the AFC North. And then it's, what do you do with the Browns and the Steelers? So I tend to think that this is kind of as close to a toss-up of a division as possible. The only team who dominates inside the division is Pittsburgh. And by dominates, in their last 8 games against division opponents, they are 500 against the Bengals. They are 1 game over 500 against the Browns, and they are 7-1 against the Ravens. So they basically dominate the Ravens, and then right now they kind of split with the Browns and the Bengals. The Bengals have you can maybe throw out last year, maybe if you want to, because Joe Burrow was not available for either of the games the Steelers played against them. So, but otherwise, each of the other teams are basically splits in their division. The Ravens right now are on a bad streak because they have that 1-7 record against the Steelers, but they play the other two teams just fine. The Browns kind of had the Bengals number. The Ravens have the Browns number. It's kind of all over the place. So when you talk about like the national media narratives, obviously they're going to go with the big name quarterbacks here, right? They're going to ride with those guys. Daniel Red, is Joe Burrow truly healthy? This is a huge question for the AFC and the AFC North. And it's something that plays into the national media narrative, because they're going to ride with the top quarterbacks. And right now, Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP season, you can agree, disagree that as much as you want to. But he got the award. So it is very intriguing to me that outside of that, there's not a lot of talking points about the Steelers dominating this division. There's some people talking about how the Browns roster is really good. It's just, is the quarterback any good? And they're kind of holding them back because of that. But the Browns play really well in their division, and they won 11 games last year. So they're no slouch either. It comes down to, in my opinion, this is basically a toss-up in the division. So I would love to get how you guys stack it up. Let's see. I'm just going to add some questions in here as we go, so we can get to each of those. But I think it's very interesting to discuss that. So go ahead and put your thoughts in here. I'm going to go ahead and pull one up from Dennis Povlak. Dennis says 1 Bengals, 2 Steelers, 3 Ravens, 4 Browns. Okay. I can see the rationale here. The Ravens lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of coaches, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The Bengals are getting back arguably the best quarterback in football outside of Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, arguably, I don't say that, but a lot of people would. The Steelers improve their quarterback position by leaps and bounds. Their defense gets a little better with the additions of Patrick Queen and, some other defenders on that side of the ball. And then you talk about the offensive line getting improved, the new offensive coordinator. It's looking up for the Steelers, right? So you kind of got a contrast there between Steelers and Ravens. And then the Browns is the Browns, and Steelers fans believe that. They always will. It doesn't matter if they win the division this year. They're going to be the Browns to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or to Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, obviously, but I would actually flip Ravens and Bengals right now. I do not trust this Bengals defense at all after what we saw last year. I don't think they did enough this year. So I'll keep the Steelers at 2, Dennis. And if I were to rank them, I'd say it's basically like this. 1A is the Ravens, 1B is the Steelers, 1C is the Bengals, and then 1D is the Browns. So like any one of them could stake rightful claim to the fact that they have a chance in this division. The only thing that we cannot say for certain is that one of these teams is going to be bad this year. That's the only thing we can say for certain, is that one of these teams is not going to be bad this year, right? They're all going to be good. Who's it going to be, though, that kind of gets unlucky, who can't get over the hump in the division, who loses to some of the tougher division opponents? The Bengals do have the easiest schedule in the division, so that plays into it. Really tough schedules for the other 3 teams. But I don't know. I trust this Ravens staff to put together something, especially on the defensive side of the ball where they lost a bunch of guys, to replicate what we've seen from them in recent years, even with Mike McDonald out the door. So that would be my position on that one. And Gene Smith, Gene, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for popping up a question here, or not a question, but your comment here. You agree with Dennis? That's great. Bungles, Steelers, Ravens, Browns. Based on right now, Steelers will win it. I would love it. I would love to see the Steelers win it. Here's one from Robert Road: Steelers, then Bengals. Okay. See, again, you can put in any 4 or in any order that you want to, and I can figure out that a way that could work. And I can agree with you on how you could see that happening. So I don't know. Right now it's tough to see. I guess it's tough to see the Browns winning the division. If I had to pick one of these teams that I was like, I don't know if they're going to win the division. But I mean, this could be a one of the rare opportunities we get to see a division send 4 teams to the playoffs. And it's never happened before, obviously. It could happen this year with this AFC North. And that's not to discount other teams in the AFC that have a strong claim to the playoffs. But And I'm not even predicting that could happen, or that's going to happen, but it is possible. So each of these teams are that good. All right, let's see if I've got any more of these. This is a good one from Robert Road. Burrow may have issues with his throwing hand the rest of his career when playing in cold weather. Nerve issues from last season when he was injured. That is another reason why I had the Bengals third. That defense, and then the questions about Burrow. I don't have as many questions about Lamar Jackson and his health anymore. I think he's learned how to play the game in a way that he can avoid major injury. So that's not a huge concern for me. And I would think that the Ravens' ability to mask deficiencies, right, to mask their turnover and transition pieces on the defensive side of the ball is one of the best in the league. They're one of the best at doing that in the league. So that is something that I'm considering as I look into this here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take a break since I'm not seeing any more chats about the order, the stacking up the AFC North. Let's go ahead and take our break. If you're listening live, obviously, as per usual, not going anywhere. If you're listening on audio, we'll be right back here on the Steelers Q&A right after these messages. And welcome back to the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A. My name is Jeremy Betts, as always, joining you here live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can catch this show if you missed it live. You can catch it wherever you get your podcasts. I use Apple Podcasts, but you can get it on Spotify. You can get it wherever. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts if you miss the live show. Let's answer some questions that are popping in here, or that have popped in here. Eric Parker had one. Who doesn't like to be the underdogs in this division? Expectations are minimal from the media's perspective. I talked about this several weeks ago, and I want to be clear, like, part of being an underdog is fun, right? The expectations, breaking expectations, proving the doubters wrong. That's all great stuff. But I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that narrative for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Personally, I want to be back to the days where you start the season, you list off 3 teams in the AFC that could win it all, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are always in that conversation. I want to be the hunted again, because the Steelers play their best football when they need it most, right? And you have to bring your A game every week if you're being hunted. If the other teams are hunting you, if they're coming at you, then you've got to bring your A game every single week. And I know you can flip the script on that and say, well, if you're hunting, you have to bring your A game every single week. I see the Pittsburgh Steelers from the perspective of, I just want to be relevant again in the conversation of the best teams in the league on a perennial basis. I'm tired of who's the sneaky team in the AFC? It could be the Pittsburgh Steelers. That narrative has worn well thin with me, thinner than my dog's blanket that he's been laying on for the past year and a half. I am done with that narrative. Sorry, Eric, to rain on your parade here. I don't mean this in an offensive way at all. I definitely understand the concept here. I understand the gamesmanship of being the underdog in this division. This year, it might play to the Steelers' advantage. But after this year, I want the Steelers to be 12-5 and win the division, and everybody's gunning for them next year. And when you roll the script next year, it's like, is this a Super Bowl team? Is this is it? Not just, are they going to make the playoffs? Is this a Super Bowl team? That's what I want to hear on my mentions in Twitter. That's what I want to see in the media storylines. I would love to get back there personally. All right, let's see. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that one. Here's one from Daniel Red. I wanted to get to this one. How good do you think Roman Wilson can be? I think Roman Wilson can be absolutely electric. I comped him as like high-end production-wise to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who many of you probably getting a closer look at if you're watching the Receiver series on Netflix. It's really good so far. So check that out if you haven't. But Amon-Ra St. Brown and Roman Wilson play a very similar game. They're not big. They're not the fastest, but they're quick. They're decisive. They're smart. They catch everything, and they have speed. They have like long speed. And I think that they've got a chance. Roman Wilson specifically in this offense has a chance to really grow and be special down the road. So I'm not saying he's going to jump out week 1 and be a legit number 2 receiver, but by the end of the year, I expect him to be the team's number 2 receiver. I expect him to handle that role and handle it well. He's my guy that I'm watching out for. And the narrative had kind of flipped on him. Early on, it was Roman Wilson. I don't know about him. And then a lot of people got on that bandwagon and were very happy with it. And so I think it's important to take a look back at the type of player that they got, because he fits this offense so well. Block, block, block. Run good routes, quickness, speed over the top, smart football, physical football. I think he's got a real chance to be really good. And I'm not saying that he's like the most crisp, complete route runner yet. He's got to work on some of that. He's got to work on his release. But I think the want to, the work ethic, it's all there. And I really like this guy, despite him being from that team up north, who I can't stand. But if we're going to draft somebody from that team, I guess I'll support. No, I'm just kidding. He is one of my favorite players to watch this offseason. I'm really excited to see what he can do in Pittsburgh. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to find some good questions here again. Okay, we talked that one. Pennsylvania Beagles, do you still think that Eric Watts, I assume you mean Ryan Watts, was a waste of a draft pick? Terrible take. Ooh. I didn't love the pick because I thought he's redundant for what the Steelers have already. But I can get behind him being a guy that has versatility and is somebody that the Steelers can use specifically on special teams. So Ryan Watts, to me, still, I would have drafted corner earlier probably in the draft than the Steelers did. Like a lot of people talking about, obviously I love the Zach Frazier pick in the second round. I might have, if it were me running the show, I might have picked a corner instead of Zach Frazier and then gotten a center later, a Cedric Van Pran Granger. I might have gone that route personally, but I get why the Steelers did it, and I'm not disappointed with it. I just would have probably taken a corner earlier. I'm not a huge Ryan Watts fan as far as the style of player and what he can bring to the table, but I'm not ruling it out that he's going to be a contributor to this team. He could prove me wrong completely. So it's definitely something and a player that I'll be watching for sure. Thank you for your input there. Let's see. Bob Yeager, the biggest sleeper going into training camp. John Rhys Plumlee is the guy you're mentioning here. I could see that. I could see that as him as a guy that the Steelers would love to keep around on the practice squad for his versatility. I think one of the sleepers going into training camp, I think it's Darius Rush. Like a lot of people are talking up Corey Trice. I loved Darius Rush in last year's draft class. I thought he was going to go way higher than he did. And the fact that the Colts gave up on him after half a season and then the Steelers end up with him, I thought was a huge, I guess, good taste of fortune for the Pittsburgh Steelers to land him. I think his development's going to skyrocket this offseason, and I think he's going to be a guy to be reckoned with on this defense. And Corey Trice as well. I believe that as well. But he's a guy that I'm just really, really excited to watch. Darius Rush. Don't sleep on Darnell Washington being really a big part of this offense. I think you're going to see some of that in training camp. You're going to see him getting the ball a lot. Don't sleep on him. Some fringe roster guys, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of any of the receivers on the fringe. I really like a couple of the running backs that are on the fringe, but I do like your Plumlee take, Bob. I think he's going to be somebody to watch. He's going to be fun to watch in training camp whenever he gets an opportunity because he's got a live arm. He's the smaller guy, but live arm, good feet, I think he's somebody that could impress and be somebody that the guys or that the Steelers might like to keep around um, if they get the ability, if they have the ability to. So let's see here. I'm trying to scroll and find some more questions or comments here about the Pittsburgh Toddy 86 Steelers Ratbirds Bungles twos. I like that. Steelers Ravens Bengals Browns. I think that this is highly plausible and highly feasible as well. That it's really close. That the Steelers eke it out. They're the best defense in this division, and I think it's not going to be relatively close this year. The Steelers are, I think I ranked them as my second favorite defense going into the season. So I think they're going to have a huge year defensively. And offensively, I think they get much closer to the middle of the pack, and I think that they're a team to be reckoned with. And I don't think that something all of a sudden switches in how the Ravens play the Steelers. And I'm not convinced Joe Burrow is going to be the Joe Burrow we thought we were going to be getting for the rest of his career. And then the Browns is the Browns. I mean, prove it to me, Browns, before I'm going to give you anything. So I like this order here. Could easily see it happening. Something that I would love to see. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, I want to bring this one up. Andre Coleman says, at Afton, AFC North, NFC West, and NFC East are toughest divisions to play in. Let me throw a different one in here for you. The NFC North, not the AFC North, the NFC North. That division is loaded. And I'm saying loaded, including the Vikings, who are as in turmoil at quarterback as any team in the league, right? I think Sam Darnold is going to win that job this year. I think he's going to play pretty well. I think JJ McCarthy is obviously the future. But I see the Vikings competing. I think their defense is going to be just fine with Brian Flores still there. So I like the Vikings, but the Bears are really, really exciting. That defense is going to be really good. That offense could be really good with Caleb Williams if he hits all his marks early that we're expecting of him. And the Lions are for real, man. The Lions are a Super Bowl team. They're ready for that. And then the Packers might be there too. So that division's really tough. NFC West, very tough. NFC East, they're going to be tougher this year, yes. But I'm not putting them up there with the NFC North and the AFC North yet. So those are my two divisions to watch. But good input, Andre. A good talking point right there. So let's see here. Okay. Scrolling down through some of these points. Oh, okay. Going back to Ryan Watts. Are they going to move Ryan Watts to safety? After before I asked this. I think that that's probably his best path to playing time. But on defense anyway. Outside of that, he's going to have to show he can be a demon on special teams. So I do think that he's going to be good. Oh, a great sleeper here. Somebody I wanted to mention. Beanie Bishop. I don't know if he's going to get the ability to be or have the opportunity to be a sleeper because he's going to be thrust into such a high profile position early this season, unless the Steelers go out and get somebody else to fill the nickel until Cam Sutton is healthy. But I mean, Beanie Bishop, if he plays how a lot of Steeler fans who maybe watched West Virginia play football more than I did are excited about him. I think that he's an exciting type player, physical player, a guy who's got a lot of special traits. So I'm excited to see what he is. And yes, he is definitely a good sleeper. If we're talking about guys who could come out of nowhere, undrafted free agency is nowhere for most people, and be a solid contributor. Gene Smith, who is going to be a game changer this year? Nick Herbig is going to be a game changer this year. Patrick Queen and the other Wilson kid. Sorry, blanking on him. I keep wanting to say Roman Wilson. Peyton Wilson. Those two guys are going to be dynamic. And let's not forget Landon Roberts, too. Those three guys are as key to the Steelers' success this year as anybody. But Patrick Queen's going to be exceptional. I'm ready. I'm predicting it now. He is a Pro Bowler on defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers in his first year as a Steeler. And I think he's going to be that incredible. So I picked those that guy on defense. Obviously, you've got T.J. Watt, but Pat Fryermuth is going to be a game changer this year. He's going to be unguardable at times. We're going to see him really go off this year. He's going to earn a contract, and if the Steelers are willing to pay it, they should. I think that that's going to be the case for him. Russell Wilson, to me, though, guys, he's going to be a game changer this year. I know I've talked up a lot of Justin Fields. I would love to see Justin Fields win the job. I don't think he's going to. I would love to see him win it outright because he's just that good and be the Steelers quarterback of the future. But I think Russ is going to be, I think he's going to be a game changer. I think he's going to turn back the clock a little bit. I think he's going to be exactly what Arthur Smith wants and needs, and exactly what this team needs after several years of just plain poor offense. And it's going to be a lot prettier this year with Russ running the show, with Russ driving the bus. I'm excited for that. X Concepts 1, how many tight ends do you think they keep on the 53? Steelers usually keep 3. Smith likes having 4 to 5. Do I see Rodney Williams making the roster? So I'm going to say they keep 4, and I do think the 4th one is Rodney Williams. I think that's going to be a huge part of Arthur Smith's offense here is the tight ends, and they're going to want depth there. And if Pat Fryermuth were to go down to injury, knock on wood, I don't expect Darnell Washington to be tight end 1 de facto for the Steelers. Expect him and Connor Hayward to really split those duties, and for Connor Hayward to get a lot of looks in the passing game. He might still get a lot of looks in the passing game as tight end 3, but I really think that they're going to keep 4 this year, and I think Rodney Williams does make this roster as a blocking tight end. It's too valuable for what Arthur Smith likes to do. Holly getting her butt in here again, so we appreciate you, Holly. We really do. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. Okay, Afton, I see your question. You think the Bears are tough this year? I do think the Bears are tough this year. I would not be surprised if they make the playoffs this year. But Mr. Woodside, Vikings can compete as a dark horse. Agreed. Jeremy, Lions are the class. That is correct. But the Vikings are definitely a team you can't be sleeping on. They're going to be good this year. They're going to be much better than you think. Okay. That is the end of the questions I'm seeing right now. So let's go back to my question on the show, unless we get something else here. How do the Steelers fans stack up the AFC North? I've heard from a few of you here. Most of you have the Steelers at 1 or 2. Does anybody think the Steelers are going to be worse than 2? I'll throw that out there. And while I'm waiting on that question, anybody think the Steelers are going to be worse than 2 in this division? I'm going to answer this question from Daniel Red. What's your take on Dallas? Dallas is the enigma of the NFL. Their offense should be really good again this year, but I would expect a severe downturn in defensive production. So if the defense in Dallas struggled at the end of the season, which they really, really did, it was a trend. It wasn't just a one-off in the playoffs. They were bad for large chunks of the back end of the year. Dan Quinn's now gone. You've got a lot of chit chat going on in that locker room on defense around Micah Parsons and company. I think they'll still have good days. I think they'll still have good weeks, but I don't think that defense is going to be the top 5 bank it unit every week like we thought it was going to be. So I say Dallas in the NFC. They're a playoff team. They're probably a wild card team. I expect the Eagles to win that division this year. I think the Eagles are more well-rounded and just better at this point. But Dallas has a shot to be still really, really good on offense. And I think that's enough to keep them in the race. And they'll be in there at the end of the year, 10-7, 11-6. And people will be saying they could win the Super Bowl because their offense is that good. So I think that Dallas will be just fine. I don't think they're going to be as good as they have been the last couple years overall, because I think the defense takes a step back. But I do think that the Cowboys have a chance to – they could go either way, but they have a chance to be worse than they were last year while still being a good team, if that makes sense. Daniel Red says, so is week 5 a win for us? That's a toss-up. It's at home in Pittsburgh, so I like that. But I think Dak is a good quarterback, you guys. I've said this and I've gotten some flack for it. If Dak gets paid $60 million next year on the open market and the Steelers are the one to pay him, I would be fine with that. Don't kill me. I think Dak is a top 5 quarterback in this league, and he doesn't get enough respect, even though he has a tendency to not perform at his best when the games count. He's far and above the best quarterback the Steelers have had since 2018 if they were to sign him. So Mr. Woodside says Dak is above average. Dak is way above average. Way above average. Oh, man. Fun, though. Okay, so, guys, this has been a lot of fun. It looks like, as I had asked the question, does anybody see the Steelers third or worse in this division? I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of not me's. So anybody else have anything on that before we close? I don't see the Steelers being fourth in this division. They're not coming in fourth in this division. It's just not happening. But they could be third. And they could be third at 10-7. Easy. So that's it. Good question here. Only 2 teams remain: Steelers, Cowboys. Who you taking, I guess? Steelers, obviously. That would be a great Super Bowl, by the way. I'd love to see that again. All right. This is going to let's wrap the show. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Afton, thank you for the compliment on the show. Always appreciate you guys all tuning in. Thank you all so much for sticking with Steel Curtain Network, for being a part of everything we're doing here. If it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't exist. So I appreciate it all. And follow me on Twitter at thebets93. Give me your questions there. We'll talk football there. Really enjoy my interactions on Twitter for the most part. There's always those few, So follow me there if you don't already. And let's prep for Steelers training camp. It's going to be a lot of fun. And 10 days away, guys. Football is almost back. And I could not be more excited, could not be more ready. We'll talk to you guys next time here on the Steelers Sunday Night Q&A.